All right, what is up, team? Happy end of 2024. If you're listening to this, then it might be the very beginning of 2025 or the very end of 2024 because this is an episode completely dedicated for how to lose fat permanently in 2025 and how to get prepared for the new year. And so I've really kind of taken the time to compile a lot of the things that I keep hearing over and over and over again, as well as the things that I keep seeing over and over and over again when it comes to women trying to lose fat, whether that is women that I just talk to on like Instagram, that I talk to you from, you hear on the podcast, or if it is our clients directly. And so there's a lot of mistakes that I want you all to avoid in 2025 to actually see results for the long haul, because my mission specifically is to impact millions of women's lives in ways where they can really see this transformation last. And that is only going to happen if we not only grow our business and our one-on-one coaching service, but also impact many of you here for free through resources like the podcast, downloadables, etc., that we give away, because I think millions is quite a lofty number to hit with one-on-one coaching. So, with that being said, we're going to go over kind of who this is for, like who is going to be the ideal person who's going to take these lessons and really thrive from them. And then I have, I think, 4 mistakes that I want you to avoid in the new year. If you're going into the year, you really want to lose weight, you really want to do it the right way, and you don't want to feel lost or confused or like you're floundering, I would say 4 mistakes to go. Actually, let's say 5. Let's say 5. 5 mistakes that I want you to avoid. So let's get right into it. So, if you are somebody who struggles with their weight like their entire life, like maybe you have kind of started dieting in your early teens or early adulthood, maybe, and you have been on this dieting journey to lose fat, to create a physique that you love for years and years and years, but you've actually seen yourself over the years go in the complete opposite direction. So this is something that unfortunately I hear almost every single day. And it's really, really sad because there are women all over the country basically just killing themselves to achieve this physique, which has been like imposed upon us from social media. Like, this is what a good body looks like. But anyways, we're all trying to lose weight here. And we're actually getting farther and farther away from the target with each attempt. And that is really devastating. It's really frustrating because you're putting in a lot of effort and it's almost reinforcing this belief that like, maybe this isn't meant for me. And how this is happening is it's gotten harder and harder to lose this weight because you'll lose it. At the beginning, typically something as simple as like, I started eating salads and I started exercising tends to work, especially like in your early 20s, that sort of thing. But then as the years go on, let's say you get into your work from home or sedentary career, you basically get into a rhythm with that and you start gaining some weight. Maybe you get engaged, maybe you get married, maybe you have kids, multiple kids, and then boom, it's like the same weight that you could just like kind of start eating some vegetables and see some results just is not working anymore. So you start doing more extreme and more tailored things like tracking your calories using Noom, MyFitnessPal, Weight Watchers, or maybe even something more extreme like seeing your doctor, what they recommend. Sometimes they'll recommend things as crazy as keto, carnivore, stuff where you have to cut out entire food groups and it's just not sustainable. So you see some success with that, but you're literally so miserable the whole time that you can't keep it up. And then as soon as you go back to normal, the weight comes right back on. So if that's kind of where you're at and you're losing belief in the fact that like this could happen for you, that you could like look in the mirror and like what you see, I want you to just first and foremost know that you do not have to settle for less as you go into your 30s, as you go into 35, 40 years old. You do not need to settle for less. And it's absolutely so frustrating for me to be on the side where I see women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 60s fucking killing it, and seeing the best results that they have ever seen in their entire life. They feel better than they did when they were 30, better than they did when they were 20, sometimes even better than they did relationship with their body wise than they did in high school. And then I talk to women who are ready to give up because they just can't see the other side of that coin. And I want you to know it's not about working harder. It's not about going more extreme. It's about figuring out the actual approach that works for you, not running the same goddamn hamster wheel. Okay. So if you're losing that belief, I promise you it can be better. And the way that we do that is we stop running our metabolism into the ground. And so this is episode 66. I'll scroll back here. Listen to episode 60 if you don't know anything about your metabolism, but essentially I'll give you the long and short of it. The reason that you're gaining more weight year over year in spite of your efforts of honestly dieting more often than not is because every time you diet, your metabolism adjusts to that. It adapts to that. It's called metabolic downregulation, where your metabolic rate does drop down as a result of your efforts of dieting because you're eating less. And so your body just gets more efficient at making the most of less fuel, because that's how it survives, right? Because if we were to just wither away into nothing, the more we ate less, then like we would not exist with how much a lot of these women are eating. So we adapt, and then our metabolism is kind of down here at the ground zero of what it can bear. Our menstrual cycle is all over the place. Our hormones are all over the place. We're exhausted because our body's trying to conserve energy, so it's making us tired all the time. We're never well rested, even though we're sleeping as much as we can. And we're just less resilient to stress. Like little things just get to us faster. So then you're more likely to snap and just like say F it and eat whatever and gain weight back. But when you eat normally, you're going to gain weight quicker because your metabolism is so slow that the gap between what you're eating and where your metabolism is so large that that's where you put on weight. And it takes a while for your body to catch up and stop gaining weight every time you do this. So your metabolism gets lower and lower over the years while your weight goes up and up and up. So it gets harder and harder and harder to see any actual changes. Okay. So that's how that works. And then exercise is a whole nother thing on top of that, like the HIIT craze, the group class craze, the boot camp thing. That's running your metabolism farther into the ground too. It's making your cortisol go crazy. It's dysregulating your hormones, and it's making it stickier for you to actually lose this weight, for your body to feel safe to let go of that body fat. So there's a lot wrong with like what's typical, and unfortunately that's what's popular. So that's what most women are doing, but that's why most women are struggling in this cycle. So with that being said, that's the long and short of it. Here's the things that I want you to avoid in the new year so that you can actually lose fat permanently in 2025. So the biggest thing here is going to be kind of the overarching mindset that you take into your journey. So when you look at 2025 and a lot of people set goals around the new year, I'm not against that. I think it's awesome, to be honest. I love the idea of using the year as a fresh start and just using that energy for good. Like, why be pessimistic about it? Like, let's just set the freaking goal. I am never going to hate on someone for being a New Year's resolutioner, because every single year I set goals for myself, and I don't hit half of them, but it's besides the point. But no, I tend to overset goals. So we'll talk about that maybe in another episode. But when it comes to fat loss, achieving your body composition goals, so the biggest thing, that one mistake, 1 out of 5 that I want you to remember here is that I want you to take the mentality of a lifestyle change, not embarking on a weight loss journey again. Because in order to break the cycle, we have to start thinking about this differently. If you're thinking about this as just weight loss, just as a means to an end, just as I'm going to lose the weight this year, then you're going to do things inherently that are unsustainable to meet that goal, that don't actually fit anything that's going to be in your lifestyle long term. So you're just going to set yourself up to, again, gain the weight back, perpetuate the cycle. I don't want that for you. So what we need to do is think about it instead as a lifestyle change. So what does that mean? It means that we're actually thinking about uprooting and changing the routines and behaviors in our life that are permanent. So classic examples are things like water intake, are things like step count, are things like going to the gym, things like how we manage our nutrition and our meal prep. The thing is that when we embark on a weight loss journey, we do these things as a checkbox rather than actually thinking about how it fits into our life. So, for example, if I'm trying to drink water, if we're trying to hit it as a checkbox, as a means to an end, this is very commonly a symptom of this, of us thinking of it this way, is that we are tracking our water intake and we find that at 6 p.m. we've got like 40 ounces to go and we're chugging it just to meet the mark. Whereas if we're thinking about integrating it into our life, we think about, how do I pair a glass of water with every meal that I eat? How do I remember to carry my water bottle around with me? Do I have a water bottle that I like, that I've honestly invested in, and like feel like I enjoy drinking out of and I look forward to, that catches the eye? Am I really thinking about how I integrate this into my life? Same goes for step count. A symptom of knowing that you're thinking of it as a means to an end is if you are at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., you have 4,000 steps left to hit your target. And then you're pacing around your house trying to get it in. Whereas a lifestyle change is building routines around every morning. I go on a quick walk to get 1,000 steps in. After each meal, I get a couple steps in. Or when I do X, Y, and Z types of meetings for work, I pull out my walking pad and I start walking. Or when I go to the bathroom in the middle of the workday, I use the bathroom that's farthest across from me in the house versus the one that's right next to my office, right? So those are the kinds of things that would exemplify that. Or classic one with protein intake, our diet. A symptom that we're thinking of it as a means to an end rather than a lifestyle change is we're just kind of like grabbing protein shakes, protein snacks, beef jerky, and just kind of like adding them randomly throughout the day. Or we find ourselves chugging protein shakes at night because we're behind. And that is a signal to me that we're not really grasping the actual point of protein being a part of our lifestyle. Because if it was a part of our lifestyle, we would have a serving of protein integrated into our breakfast. Maybe we have protein oats for breakfast, or we have a lean chicken breast in our lunch, or we have salmon that we've baked for the whole family for dinner, and we have that alongside some pasta and some veggies. Like, that's integration. Whereas if you are kind of just like picking at things and stressing out over, oh my gosh, like what else am I going to add to get my protein? It's not what do I add, it's how do I integrate it? So hopefully that gives you a few examples of how that can look. It's something that's come up actually a lot with one-on-one clients because we have these metrics, these targets, these protocols. Something that we have to do as coaches, it's our duty, our responsibility, is not just making sure our clients check the boxes. That's like the bare minimum. But in my opinion, the bare minimum is actually asking them, like, how are you thinking about it? Is it integrated? Because when you leave this program, when you graduate, you're not going to have the checkbox. So when the checkbox is gone, are you going to forget to cram in the extra protein shake because it was never actually a part of how you meal prepped or how you cooked for your family? Right? That's the first thing that's going to fall off, and that's how it's not going to stick. So the mindset around this is it has to be a lifestyle change. We have to integrate rather than just adding these things as a checkbox. And that is also how it tends to feel, either like fitness makes your life easier and better versus making it more stressful. A lot of times there are women that come to us that say, I did a program like this before and it just felt stressful. It just like felt like another thing on my plate. I can't add it to my plate right now. But the reality is that the coach, the program was probably just missing that element of helping you figure out how to integrate it. Because when it's integrated, then it's like you don't have to think about it. You've already prepped your meals for the week. You already know when you're getting your steps in. You don't have a laundry list of things to do at the end of the day because it's already done. And you're actually saving time in the process while reaching your goals. Whereas if it's that checkbox mentality, yeah, you're going to feel freaking stressed about hitting these metrics and reaching your goals. And so it is a duty of a coach, a lifestyle transformation coach, to not just help you hit the box, but actually help you figure out the integration piece. Okay. So that's mistake number one to avoid. Mistake number 2 to avoid, I actually only have 4 now that I realize 2 of mine kind of melded into one. But mistake number 2 that I want you to avoid is, are you taking a restrictive approach with your nutrition or an inclusive one? And so you really have to start thinking about the way that you mentally label food and the way that you really think about it and talk about it with yourself and with others. So a restrictive approach with food, for example, is saying that certain foods are bad, trying to avoid certain foods in your diet, and just kind of like the little things that you say in passing that like you don't even realize, like, oh yeah, we're trying to do spaghetti squash instead of pasta, just lower the carbs, that sort of thing. It's like, but why? Like, are we focusing on getting rid of things, or are we actually focusing on adding things? So an inclusive approach is thinking about, what is my diet missing? And this is really where the narrative shifts from, I can't have this, I can't have that, I'm restricted, therefore I have cravings, therefore, like, I just am miserable in this process. Because when you tell yourself you can't have things, what do? You think about them. If I said, don't think about cute puppies right now, what immediately comes to mind? I had like a little golden retriever come to mind, which doesn't make sense because I'm a Roddy mom and I feel like a Roddy should have come to mind. Well, cute puppies, that's like the clip art image off of Google Images that like you see right away, right? Who else saw that? And so that's what happens when you say, I can't have these foods. We're thinking about them more. Whereas what we want you to do instead is taking an inclusive approach. So an inclusive approach means that you're thinking about food in, what is my meal missing? So how, again, am I integrating a lean protein, healthy fats, starchy carbohydrates, and fibrous vegetables into every single meal? Because you'd often think like, oh, but I'm probably eating too much. I probably need to cut out the bad things. My diet's so full of bad things. And even if I looked at your diet and it was Coke and chips and pizza from Costco on a day-by-day basis, I would still tell you we need to take an inclusive approach because your diet is missing critical things. And so I don't care if you have the Costco pizza if you're still hungry, but we need to add 3 to 4 servings of protein, lean protein in a day, 3 to 4 servings of fibrous fruits and vegetables in a day minimum, starchy carbohydrates that have fiber or whole grains in them 2 to 3 times a day minimum, as well as a healthy fat 2 to 3 times a day minimum, like avocados, olive oils, grass-fed butter, egg yolks, etc. So we need all of those things. And so if you add all those things in and you're absolutely starving still and you want to have that slice of pizza, go for it. But I guarantee you, when you add in those things, you're not going to have the stomach for anything else. So that is how we create the diet that we want without the mindset of I can't. Because when you're so focused on adding, you're thinking about, what are these foods adding to my life, my energy, my digestion? And those are the kinds of questions that we prompt our clients with to get them thinking about, like, why is this benefiting me? Why do I want to keep doing this, right? Why do I want this to be a part of my life? Because once you do it, once you get over the hump of like, I don't like vegetables, like once you start doing it and you feel the difference in your energy and your digestion and how your body feels, it is night and day. And then you don't want to go back. Okay. So a restrictive approach versus an inclusive one. Essentially, do you want to be miserable or do you want to enjoy the process? That's basically what that question is asking. So we want to avoid the restrictive approach and make sure that we are focused on inclusion with our diet. And then lastly, are you focused on just weight loss, seeing the scale go down? Or are you focused on metabolism? Because what we focus on with our clients is building up their metabolism so that their body kind of just burns fat for them. Like, the weight loss is just a byproduct of the fact that they have actually geared their metabolism to get back up to its optimal rate. So we've suppressed it for years and years and years and years because we've done all the wrong things and we're fueling it the wrong way. So when we fuel it the right way, and not with supplements, not with like gimmicks or anything like that, literally just with like how we nourish our body with food and what we're doing with our exercise and our lifestyle, can drastically impact your metabolic rate, like by hundreds of calories a day. I'm not joking. And it's actually simple. It's actually simple. But most people think it's too simple, so they avoid doing the simple thing and go for the complex, shiny object stuff. So anyways, that is the focus on metabolism, whereas the focus on weight loss that we want to avoid is doing things to see the scale go down, which if you were to do that, then just like stop drinking water for like 2.5 days and boom, the scale will go down by like 10 pounds, but you'll also be close to dying, right? So we don't want to do that. But that's kind of the point here is if you focus on weight loss, you're just going to do short-term means to an end type things that are restrictive, that are miserable, and inevitably will lead you to frustration because your weight is going to fluctuate up and down anyways. And you're not going to be able to see lasting change just from trying to manipulate the water fluctuations on the scale. For example, if you do keto for a week, you're going to drop like 10, 15 pounds because keto gets rid of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates hold water in the cell with them. So you're not only losing all the weight in the body of glycogen stores, but you're also losing all the weight of water that you're holding in the cell. And so that's a ton of weight, and none of it is body fat. Absolutely none. So that's why those things are instantly gratifying, but not actually useful. So if you're focused on metabolism, what's going to happen is you're not going to see the scale move right away, but you're going to start feeling more energy. You're going to feel like your body's actually starting to work, like you're going to wake up with an appetite in the morning. You're going to feel like you have hunger signals before meals. Your cycle is going to become more regular and less exacerbated. You're going to sleep better. You're going to just focus better, have less brain fog, less headaches. And then you're going to notice the inches start going down on your waist. And then the scale is going to start trickling down as well because you've actually built a body that's working for you. It's like investing into your 401k or investing into stocks and things like that. It's you put in the money and it feels like a short-term loss because like nothing is happening in the immediate. But when you really continue investing and building that account, what happens over the course of time is that it starts working for you. You start noticing that your money is growing even though you're not doing anything. And so my journey, for example, I learned this and did this for myself probably 7-8 years ago. And so 7-8 years ago, I was like, come on, when's my body going to change? Right. And now I could take 2 weeks off of the gym. Granted, I'm not going to feel great because like I like going to the gym. I like the way it makes me feel. But like I could take 2 weeks off and literally nothing's going to happen to my physique because my metabolism's strong and I can maintain my weight kind of being lazy with things, like being totally honest. Like I could be pretty lazy with things and get away with it for a while because I've put in the time and the work ahead of time now to have a metabolism that's working for me. Okay. So that's what I want you to avoid is thinking about weight loss. The last thing that I want you to avoid is going at it alone. And like, listen, this is really underrated. And you might be somebody who has done all these things on your own before. But I think the biggest thing to remember here is that when you're trapped in your own head about this and you're going about it on your own, the only sounding board you have is like all of the evidence that you've had up to this point that nothing's worked for you, that you're set up for failure, that there's no way that you're going to get to your dream goal. You're going to question, is this even working? Especially when things don't pan out immediately, because majority of the women that I talk to are women that say, listen, once I start to see some progress, like I'm hooked and I'm in. But until that happens, like I struggle to like really commit and get it started. And that hump is the most important hump that we get over, right? And sometimes that hump can take longer to get over than we'd like. And so if you do that, then you're just going to end up with a bunch of false starts back to back to back to back. I started diet, it didn't work. I started diet, I said, screw it. I started diet, I couldn't keep it up. And then we build more evidence that we can't do it. And then we never get there because we did it on our own, because we had no sounding board other than the negative thoughts in our mind. We have over 60,000 thoughts a day. The majority of them are negative. So what do we think is going to happen if we leave it to our own devices, right? And very, very few people, I'm not even included in this group because I have a coach myself. Very, very few people have the ability to be that objective truly objective third-party perspective for themselves. And I guarantee you, if you're listening to this episode 25 minutes in at this point, you're not one of those people because you clearly are resonating with something here. So with that being said, don't go at it alone. And so that can look a lot of different ways, right? Obviously, we have a one-on-one coaching program here that we are that sounding board. We are that guidance. We take the thought out of it for you. We're going to pull you off the ledge. We're going to be there with you every step of the way. Our clients don't ever go more than 7 days without talking to their coach. Okay. So that is a big one. But let's say that's not in the cards for you for whatever reason. Recruit people into your life. Tell your significant other about how you're feeling, the support that you need. Tell your friends. Do not let yourself operate in isolation, because if you do it alone and nobody is aware of what is going on, it's going to be that much easier to break the promises to yourself. Also, social media is a powerful tool. It's scary to post about like, I'm on a fitness journey, but I did that back in 2016. And I mean, talk about major accountability. I literally, I can't stop now because it's who I am, Marissa Fitness. But in all seriousness, I started the account as an accountability page. If you scroll all the way down, 3,000 posts down, you'll see it. It's all pictures of food. I didn't even show my face. And I was trying to heal my relationship with food and stay accountable. So you can start a diary like that on social media. And if people see it, it's like, yeah, I don't want people to see it because like, what if I mess up? That's the point. It's accountability. It's hard. And if you can't right now follow through just for yourself, you have to leverage following through for others, because that's probably what you're better at until it becomes intrinsically motivated. So that could be social media. That could be hiring a coach. That could be being accountable to some sort of challenge or friends or your social network. But do not go at it alone. Connect yourself, plug in with a community, and make sure that you have people in your corner that are supporting you unconditionally, right? And so that's a big one, because if you want to be successful, you have to recognize that on our own, when you're not an expert in the field, or even if you are, we're better with mentors, with guidance, with people in our corner. So that's why I have a coach myself. That's why, honestly, all the coaches on our team have had coaches before. That's why a lot of our clients, even if they're in a good spot, they continue working with us, because it's easier that way. And if it's something that, is making your life that much better, then that is going to make a huge difference. So anyways, that is the 411 of the 4 mistakes that I want you to avoid in 2025 to see permanent fat loss and be ready for the new year. If you felt like this applied to you, or you felt like you took something away from this podcast, please share it with someone who could benefit from it as well. I'm sure there's someone you could think of that relates with you on some of these things if you are in your fitness journey. And that's another part of the accountability, right? It's like, hey, I just listened to this. I felt like it spoke to me. I feel like you might get it too. We've been on this journey together, your best friend, your mom, your sister. Send it to them, have them listen as well, and commit to your journey in 2025 together. So that is all. I hope you all have an amazing new year and holidays, and I'll see you next time.